Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Mindhunter Season 1, Episode 8. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. So we ain't done with feet. We thought we were done with the shoes last
Nope,
episode.
that's the thing now. That's what this show is just becoming.
Not only did we go back to the shoes, we went back to Brudos, not only go back to him, but we now have a new suspect. We have a tickler.
It sounds so stupid when you say it like that.
It does, until you mention it's a principal and he's tickling kids' feet and then paying them for it. That
Yeah.
kind of makes it creepy.
It does make it very creepy.
Do you know what's funny? Like, so much of this episode is like, oh, should there anything be done about this? And I feel like in 2017, if a principal was caught telling a student to take their shoe off so he could tickle their feet, there would be like an outcry.
That's it. That ban would never work again.
Yeah, that would be over. You can tell this is in a different era because no one would be
Yeah.
getting away with this now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess this is a really depressing thought, but I guess in 2017 we're just a lot more used to the idea of a paedophile, so we're just a lot more alert about anyone being creepy in that sense.
That's true. I mean, to be fair, at this point in the show, they're not even aware of serial killers. So, and again, right now we're aware of that. That's just okay. It's not common, but it's something that we're all aware of.
Yeah, yeah, obviously they're aware. Like Holden and Bill are aware of them, but they're not calling them that yet. It's not public kind of
Right.
the public mindscape yet. It's not part of the
Yeah, it's
lexicon.
not just something that everyone's aware of. Whereas now, you say serial killer to anyone, and people will, have images.
Yeah. So the opening scene actually was funny. The little
It's a little curveball.
yeah, because it wasn't the killer. Because you think, oh, is this someone circulating paperwork about the killer or something?
See, I was thinking, is he doing that? Is he sending a message? Why? Who's he sending a message to?
Ah, yeah.
Or
But
are these things that he wants to do? He's reading a paper, and it's like, are these things that he's going, oh, I like these.
then we get after the credits, and it turns out no, this is actually Holden is at a school, a grade school, and he's going to talk to a class. He's going to talk to a class about looking for early signs, and it's the principal's actually taking his speech that he's got notes for, and he's like crossed out a bunch of words that he's not allowed to use because then he'll have to explain what all those words mean, like
Yeah.
deviant. No, you can't use that.
Deviant, torture, pyromania.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I guess so, because his argument's not so much that he doesn't want the dark subjects. I mean, I think part of it's there, but it's
I
more
mean,
like,
that is when it comes to torture. He's talking about torturing animals. He's like, how about just say be mean?
yeah, that's the
But-
really ridiculous part of it. It's like,
But the deviant and the pyromania, he's going, look, these kids are too young. They're not going to understand what that means if you say it like that.
yeah, and a big theme of this show, of course, has been putting it in language that the people you're talking to will understand what you mean.
And we've seen Holden's struggled with that the whole time. Like
He's-
going back to when he's talked to the local law enforcement.
He
couldn't
struggled
get a
with
handle
that
on it.
with adults, never mind 6-year-olds or whatever old these kids are. So,
Yeah.
So it's funny because even though he's going too far with it, he's actually the principal's making a very good point here. They're not going to understand this.
Some of it are going, oh, they're not going to understand this. I think those ones are a legitimate good point that he's making, and he's right to kind of call him up on that.
Yeah, because then
The
you
one
have
where
to
he's going-
explain what it is, and then if you have to explain what it is, then like,
Yeah, the one where he's going, well, you should just say to be mean. It's like, okay, now you're just coddling them.
of course, later on when we actually get the other teacher comes up and like asks to talk to Holden, is like and gives him these concerns of what the principal's doing. Where when he punishes because obviously everyone remember in school like, oh, you've done something bad, you're going to go see the principal, like that kind of idea. Whenever that happens, he tells them to take their shoe off and he tickles them, and then gives them a nickel because they get tickled.
Yeah, no, it was if they resist the tickling, if they get through it, then they get the nickel.
Yeah.
Like if they put up with it long enough.
So they don't react and laugh. They kind of have to like try and take it essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which is going to be easy for because some kids aren't ticklish. Like most people are, but you get your odd person who's completely
that's
immune
true.
to it. Which is besides the point, of course. But like, very creepy. As soon as they start talking about it, it's like, okay, this is weird and no,
Yeah, no, just don't do this.
this is wrong. But it kind of becomes this whole plot where Holden wants to look into it because he's disturbed by it, and like it turns out multiple teachers have complained, parents have been complaining, and even the school board has kind of looked into it and they've mentioned it to the police, but nothing ever came of it. No one even really and it all kind of becomes about this idea of like if he's recognizing this behavior as something that could escalate. Like, if there's ever a trigger where, maybe a kid resists and that sets the principal off and something worse happens. But the sort of moral debate that happens, and it comes from Bill, who's oddly kind of absent in this episode. He refuses to go and see Brudos again. He doesn't want to go back. He's kind of...
Yeah, he's I think he's a bit broken after last episode.
He is, yeah. He's kind of like... And I don't mean this to diminish him, but just in the same way that Holden puts it, he kind of wimps out. He's like, no, I'm not going back. Like, and not in a bad way. It just it says that he's hit a limit. He needs to cool off. He needs to hold back in that sense. But both him and Wendy are kind of pulling up in this as well. Like, you're trying to predict if someone's going to do a crime. And sure, what we are doing will help kind of identify these things, but ultimately... And even though Shepard has often been like dead set against him throughout the entire like sort of run of the show, he's kind of like unwillingly kind of got into this, and it's only once other people started to want to give them money that he's kind of let them go along with it. But even he makes good points. With the FBI, we get involved once a crime is being committed, and now
once
that's
it's
not
bad enough
yet.
to reach us, these things that he's talking about. Oh, it'll help people identify and prevent. It will, but that's not our job. That'll be for someone else. Once you've published these papers and it's reached the relevant people for that.
Yeah. Because that's actually the end of the episode. Is he comes back after obviously other stuff happens, but he comes back into the office, and there's a phone call from like one of the teachers of the school board, and like, oh, we're thinking about letting him go. Would you advise that? Is that what you advise? And he kind of awkwardly says, well, I can't really advise anything because he's not really in an official capacity to advise anything like that. And even if he was working in an official capacity, his job is not to like get people fired for over what they've done.
The guy on the phone seems very understanding though. He's like, yeah, I get you. You can't advise officially, but yeah, I'm reading between the lines.
Yeah, but then he says, but yeah, I mean that would be my best guess. But then I wonder, like, is this the trigger? Like, is him getting fired and shamed for this thing? Like, is that almost what sets him down the darker path?
More of a, well, if they think I'm going to be like that, I might as well do it.
Kind of, yeah. The idea that he's been shamed and now he's got this shadow looming over him. Like, does that make him do worse things? Like, I can't see that being the case. And you can see that doubt on Holden's face. Like, after that's the final moment of the episode, he's sitting there and he's like, did I do something wrong here? Did I, as much as his intentions were the best of well-intended ever, did he really mess up here and create a problem where it wasn't one yet? Even though the complaints were valid, and these days, it would be shot down so quick. But
it might never have escalated. It might never have got any worse than what it was.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point. You're not predicting the future. You can't try someone for a crime they've not committed, and he's got this guy fired. So does this come back and bite them? Do we get a story from this town?
I can see it
later on next season or whatever, where this guy's done something worse, or so.
That makes sense.
It's really fascinating in that sense, and it's it's obviously a lot of this. He's with this new guy, this Greg, this Agent Smith, because the plot that's going on back at base with Wendy and Bill is that they're actually interviewing people because they need some more staff to like help them with what they're doing.
I noticed last episode they seem to have got a few because the basement seemed a bit more filled out in the background.
Yeah, I think what they've got. Yeah, I noticed that last episode as well, but I feel like that's more like they were all doing like photocopying and stuff, so that feels like more office assistant type people.
No, I agree, but I forgot to mention it at the time. Yeah. But I saw them in the background. I was like, hey, okay, they're on clearly a much more official capacity than they were if they're being sent assistants.
Yeah, but clearly they want like another agent who can actually maybe do some of their stuff. Their work,
can understand and for a start.
And Holden's just not interested. He's looking at the pile of like applicants. He's like, oh, they're all bad. He rates no over them. And again, they kind of give him shit for not seeming to be interested in getting help. But he walks in. And he actually gets back from his day out, and he comes in. It's when he goes to see Brudos again. We'll get to that in a little bit. But he comes back in, and they're interviewing this guy who happens to be black, and he seems really good for the job. Both Wendy and Bill seem to really like him. He seems to really know his stuff. He seems to be interested in what they're doing. But Wendy's like, Well, actually, there's a funny little joke at first because Holden says that he's black, and Bill's like, "Oh, nothing gets past you."
Reminds me of the the no shit Sherlock
Yeah.
when he was like, well, she's like, well, she's staying then.
Yeah, no, that was a pretty good thing. And this is the scene that confirmed that they want someone else who can actually go and interview them, because
Yeah.
she said, because their reason for saying maybe we shouldn't hire him based on his race is because most of the people they're going to interview are awful people who, I think she says like 90% of them are going to be racist pieces of shit. Him being present for the interview may actually affect their
Yeah, it might
compliance.
antagonize them.
Yeah.
And that's not what they want. It's one of these weird ones where, yeah, they're almost being racist themselves, but it's very much for a like there's a reason why they're doing this. They're going, no, this could affect results.
Yeah, there's a logic to it. I mean, you can debate whether the logic should be there, but the logic is there. But it's kind of the same way why we've said, because we've spoken in the past about, will Wendy ever go? And that's actually one of the reasons why we said she wouldn't go, is because a woman being there, a woman being present. Like, maybe they'd want to do that once or twice to get a different reaction, but...
Just to see if it pushes someone, presumably
Yeah.
with someone they've already spoken to a lot, and see if it pushes them
Yeah.
differently. But I think she's very aware of that.
Yeah, and that's why she doesn't go. It's because her presence, again, much like having someone of a different race, would affect the results. So she kind of applies it to herself as well.
Yeah, she never says as much, but she's not volunteering to go out. She is,
Yeah.
aware of this for sure.
And then, of course, Shepard shows up with this guy, Greg Smith. He's like, oh, yeah, I know this guy's dad from back in the academy. He got me through school. Give him a fair shake. And they like him well enough in the interview, but Holden's immediately dismissive. He's like, nah, he's here to be Shepard's spy. Like, he's here to, like, inform him stuff.
I don't blame him, though. When the boss man comes down with the guy's like, hey, you should really consider this guy. Feels fishy.
It does feel fishy. And I kind of liked later on, though, that when he did kind of end up being an informant, it didn't seem like an official thing. Like Smith was sitting there, like, when Holden got called up to the office to, get his shit torn out of his ass, like, Smith was sitting there like, yeah, I kind of messed up here, oh dear. And he tries to, like, oh, I just ran into him in the hall. Like, he tries to, like, tell him that this wasn't, like, a planned thing.
We just got talking in the canteen.
But you can kind of tell that was kind of Shepard's plan, is that he didn't officially, like, say, oh, you're going to go down and apply for this, or you're going to be my spy. It's just the idea that he'll come up and make small talk and get it out of him.
Yeah.
Because he knows he can.
He'll just come up to me like, hey, what you been up to this week?
Exactly. So you could kind of see how the thought process was there. But he gets taken out. He's like, okay, we're going to go investigate this tickler for a day. Even though Bill says don't. Bill's like, no, this is not our job. We're not, maybe one day our jobs will be preempting crimes, but right now it's not. Right now we're the FBI. This is what we do. But he goes out. He interviews different teachers. Interviews a set of parents. I thought the interview with the parents was particularly interesting.
Okay.
Just in the sense that, like, they were really confused by it and didn't know what to do, and they seemed to, even between themselves, were kind of conflicted as to, like, how to approach it.
No, I'm with you. But they were ultimately in agreement that what had happened was wrong.
Yeah, they weren't comfortable with it, and the big thing was their kid had bought some, like, candy or something, from the shop, and they're like, oh, where did you get money for that? Like, who's giving you money, like, that we don't know about? And that's kind of the trace back to it.
Yeah, I thought what it was interesting how they mentioned what the principal said to them, and they used the word covenant, and Greg kind of picks up on it.
Yeah, because they set up that Greg is religious, which Holden actually kind of grills him for in the job interview. He's like, oh, so you believe in right and wrong? It's actually, that's Wendy. Sorry, Wendy's like, you believe in right and wrong and absolutes. And he's like, yeah, I'm a Christian. But it's like, well, we kind of deal in a lot of grey areas. We can't really let that influence your opinions and how you, like, interview people and all that.
That's fair, and I think this is similar to the race issue that we just had before. It's one of these where it's not discriminating on who they are. It's how can this affect the job. Like, it's not just because you're this, just because you're that. Is this actually going to have an impact?
And we kind of see, not that side of him, but his first interview, the first time he actually goes in an interview is actually with the principal again. And the principal at this point has still been very friendly with Holden, and he's been very kind of calm, and he's talking about what he's been asked of. But the entire time, Smith is sitting there, and he is like, he's smiling along, and he's agreeing with the principal.
So unprofessional. And
you can tell that he's like, kind of like, oh yeah, this guy seems cool. But he's making it very clear he feels that way with the principal, and he's like, yeah, this guy's fine. Like, Not saying it out loud, but you can see
Yeah.
his body language, his smile, the way
He's kind of
reacting.
sat back. He's very relaxed, whereas Holden's upright, straight, stern.
He is eating every word that this guy's giving him, and I think it's very funny, like because I think Holden at the start of the show felt very kind of like green himself, and it's funny that in this episode he's very kind of stubborn. He's very kind of angry with people. He's very the way that he calls Bill a pussy for not coming.
Yeah.
Is very stern. I wouldn't have expected that out of him back in like episode 1 or 2.
No, you're right. It's true.
So,
But
growth.
back to the interviews themselves.
Yeah.
I thought that use of Covenant was interesting because it seemed like, oh, this is setting something up. Like, okay, that they were picking up on, oh, that was a strange choice of language, but then nothing ever came of it, and it feels like, okay,
Yet.
yeah, that's fair. It might come up later, but right now it feels like, okay, what was that there for?
I think, Joe, you see if it doesn't, I actually do think it has a purpose. I think it's the idea that they're looking for these signs. They're looking for these little tell signs that something else is happening, something else is weird. Maybe the person is disturbed, or the person has like has a strong, either fetish or belief or something that the way the others have talked about their passions and their drives to do something. I think if nothing ever comes of this, I at least recognise it as, oh, that's the sort of thing that could be a flag, but it could be false. Like, it could not actually mean anything. But it's the sort of thing where they hear it and go, oh, that's a very interesting choice of words. Like, does that mean he has, like, some sort of... Because this is the thing, the principal, he always feels like he's completely in the right. And he thinks what he's doing is the... Because Holden actually... Because the ultimate thing he does that he gets chastised for is he goes back to the principal and says, we're officially recommending that you stop doing this.
Yeah.
And that's all he says, which is not an official capacity in any way, but he does it. Because it's basically Smith, again, who's very green, very rookie, says, hey, why can't we just tell him to stop it? We're the FBI. And he's like, you're right, and he U-turns the car.
Yeah. No, it's true.
And they go back, and this is when he gets really upset, the principal, and he's like, oh, how dare you come in here and tell me how to do my job, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. I wonder as well, I mean, I'm kind of going back on my own point here. I wonder if the use of Covenant was just to show he has a stronger bond than he definitely should, because Covenant's quite a strong word, isn't it? It's like, no, this is a really important thing. It's a strong bond. It's this really big agreement.
I also like that the teachers were very 50-50 on them as well. Like, 2 of the teachers they talked to were suspicious of it, but then the other teachers they talked to who they did like the method, thought it was okay, also thought the 2 teachers who were like sort of ratting them out, they thought, they're bitches.
One of those teachers I thought was really weird. She was like, oh, he takes punishment and turns it into something that they enjoy. I'm like, that's not really the point of punishment, is it? Like, yeah. I get, oh yeah, you want to be all happy, but there is a point for punishment. That's why it exists.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, like looking at different viewpoints of how different people react to it. Because some people are dismissing it and they think, it's whatever. Sure, it's a little strange, but like doesn't necessarily mean anything.
It's weird though, because this would encourage the kids to do things wrong, like to misbehave. Surely, if they're going, hey, if I misbehave, I'll get sent to the principal. I can get money.
They even bring that up. One of them says that, like they're actually intentionally misbehaving so they can go and get some money.
Which is why it seems especially personal for the principal. On it's on a personal level. It's nothing to do with all this bollocks that he's chatting. It's nothing to do with that, because the other thing that we know about him is he's very prideful about his school and his results.
So he talks about
scores.
Yeah.
Exactly. But surely, having them misbehave would jeopardize the test scores and all that stuff.
Yeah, because if we're going into the whole idea of the killers previously have felt powerful, that they feel like they've taken control when they act out, the idea here that he feels that the kids feel like they need him. They want to go see him. They want, like, he's important in their lives. He wants them to feel like he's important in their lives. That is very, that's very predatory. But what I really like about the scene when they do go and say, we're recommending you stop this, and he loses his shit, is that he does kind of make some valid points. He's like you come in here and tell me this, but like you're predicting all this stuff, and you don't know. Don't tell me how to do my job. Don't tell me how to do this. Like, he actually makes some points that where at the end Holden is doubtful. Like, has he stopped something that wasn't really a thing?
No, it's true. And I like that he calls him on the shit, because Holden's like, oh, the superintendent has sent us to advise you.
Yeah.
And he's like, really? That guy has sent the FBI to do it instead of coming and do it himself? I don't think so.
But at the same time, he's oddly kind of telling the truth, because then the superintendent's phoning him later on and being like, "Hey,
It is
should we
later,
fire
but the
him?"
superintendent definitely never sent them to advise him that.
Yeah, it's just it's funny that he even, as much as we're suspicious of it, as much as we think what he's doing is weird and creepy, he actually does make valid points. Where
It's one of these things where it's definitely weird and creepy in today's world, but I understand how in that society then it wasn't at the time. So it's like, okay, it is questionable. It was strange, but again, like I say, it wasn't criminal. It wasn't like every day.
But I think what makes it work as well is because we're instantly against them, because we think it's weird, and it is weird. Like, I don't think that's even just an opinion; it just is.
Yeah.
But then when it brings up the point, but is Holden crossing a line? It's sort of like, even if you think something could happen, he doesn't have the right to do this, even as a member of the FBI. And it's kind of
Right.
setting those boundaries for us, and like Holden has crossed a line here.
Yeah, I think someone mentions, calling the thought police, and
Yeah.
it's that idea of, well, yeah, you can't criminalize someone just because they think something. You can't do it just because they do something harmless. They have to have actually committed a crime before you do anything.
And here's the weird thing: we've been talking all season about how he might be a little bit like some of these people. Like, he thinks like they do it in a little way. I'm going to pose a little theory here, a little bit of analysis. I think he is making himself feel like he's in control, like he has power, by hunting these people down preemptively. Like, it's almost like that's what he was doing here. That he was asserting his control.
Okay, I get you.
And, it's obviously backfired in his face, but, but will he have that self-realization? But we often talk about how the killers, like, they lose control in their world, and that comes up here in the interview with Brudos, that he talks in third person, like, he's not willing to admit that he killed the second girl.
Yeah.
But eventually Holden's like, he's just like, okay, so what do you think the killer was thinking, though? And he basically talks about what he was thinking in a sort of third person way, as if it was someone else. And they theorize, oh, so your real life, your world, it was in a mess. Like, your wife and son, things weren't going so well, and so on and so forth. And this took back control. The first one was maybe like spur of the moment, but then the next time you were prepared and you kept trying to do it. In this episode, Holden's personal life is kind of...
Yeah, I was just going to say, by the end of the episode,
Yeah.
he's kind of broken. He's lost his power. He's kind of been gone, no, you're not allowed to do this. And then obviously all the stuff with Debbie that we'll get to. He's in a really rough place.
And I'm thinking, because the stuff from Debbie, right, because obviously the last episode ended with that awkward moment where he's like, I'm uncomfortable with the shoes. And she's like, oh, this is... And she's kind of pissed at him because she's put in some effort, trying to have a, sexy night with him, and he's kind of hurt her feelings. And in this episode, the first time we see her, it's like this obvious kind of jealousy plant seed where she's with this other guy dropping her off, and he's like waiting, and he's feeling kind of needy. So throughout this whole episode, I'm thinking, he's in a really bad place right now. We're talking about how Brudos was, his personal life was in a bit of distress when he had this opportunity, and it's almost like he's done that with his job. He's seen something that he can take control with and try to assert himself as a powerful person and feel powerful. And his personal life is crumbling, and it just keeps going as the episode goes. Like, he goes back to her, and she's pissed at him because she wants to study, and he's like kind of interrupting her, and he's feeling like a burden, but he wants to feel close to her. And then he goes to her thing. She's got this social experiment that she's doing with her class, where they get a bunch of people in a room with no lights to see how people communicate when they can't see each other.
And they don't know who they're talking to necessarily.
Yeah. And of course, he's wandering. I actually thought, I really like this scene actually, when he's walking around and it's mostly dark. You can see the light off the mics that are dangling.
Yeah, you just got
And
little
so,
bits of reflection, little bits so it's not complete darkness, but not enough that you can make anything out properly.
Yeah. And then the light comes up, and of course she's really close with this other guy that she was helping her out, or or lab partner, whatever you want to call him. And clearly in a position where she knows she's crossed the line. What I mean, if they were actually like making out or whatever, then yeah, sure, they were crossing an absolute line.
But it never shows us that.
But even if they weren't, the way they're standing together, no, this is like, Holden's got a right to not like what he's seeing. And
I think at first it was like, no, he's in the wrong. He's kind of going
paranoid.
Yeah, he's paranoid. He's like, oh, who's this? She wasn't doing anything wrong. It's like, oh, he gave me a lift back. Oh, he's my partner. We're on the same topic.
And the principal actually made the same point. He's like, oh, you've lived in this world with killers and all this stuff, and it's made you paranoid. I don't want to live in your world. How about you live in a world with hope and compassion and trust? Maybe you live in that world. And it's kind of like, well, we all can't do that, because otherwise actual killers would always get away with it.
Yeah, someone's got to be the paranoid.
Yeah, but we got to have the balance. We got to have both. That I think is kind of key. But he is ultra paranoid in this episode. He's paranoid about both things. But I do kind of like that idea that because his relationship that we've seen this, we've seen the whole part, all of it in the show from the Genesis to now, it's fallen apart. Yeah. And at that time, he is trying to feel more powerful at his job. And then by the end of the episode, he's completely, he screwed up something at his job because he tried to do that. And seemingly his relationship with Debbie is in tatters. We'll see if that gets picked up in any way next episode. But I feel that they will break up and she might leave the show, for next season.
I think it would make sense.
Yeah. I think Holden might realise that he maybe isn't fit to have a personal life while he's doing this work.
Yeah, maybe he's realising he's getting too obsessed and he can't separate it, and it's affecting those relationships. And that'll be something he has to work through as a season 2 arc.
Yeah. He'll basically do the Wendy stuff, and he'll just be on his own.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Speaking of Wendy, she's still feeding the cat.
Yep. Not a lot of Wendy in this episode, really, is there?
Not
outside of the moments that we've already mentioned.
Yeah, but she's still feeding the cat. We get to see that she's buying tins of tuna just for the cat and leaving.
I don't know why she doesn't buy cat food.
She knows it likes the tuna because it already ate the tuna. Cats can be fussy. Like if you buy the cat food, like
no, I know.
Especially in this case when because at least when I buy my cat's new food and it seems like they don't like it, I can see that they just look at it and go, no, I'm not having this. But in her case, she wouldn't know if the cat's just not showing up anymore.
Yeah.
The tuna's a safe bet.
I think I'd love for it to have not been a cat at all. It's just someone coming in and going, oh, tuna.
Some hobo that's just sauntering past the window. Oh, someone's leaving me out tuna.
Just someone else in the building who's coming down to the laundry room and going, oh, there's tuna here.
I mean, we heard the cat last episode, but yeah.
We heard the cat before, so it was there. But it doesn't mean it's the one eating it.
Yeah. But hey.
I think it'd be hilarious.
Is there anything else you wanted to mention about the interview with... obviously, we should probably mention, actually, that Bridos is very aware that Bill's not there, and he mentions it, and he speaks into the tape recorder. I miss you, Bill.
Yeah, it's weird.
He's goading him. Yeah.
It's creepy.
Actually, yeah, that was actually a really funny scene. It's after they said, "Oh, we're taking on this Greg guy," and Holden puts him in it's a full classroom as well. But he's sitting there listening to one of their tapes, and he's just sitting there looking distressed.
Broken. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if this guy's ready. This guy might.
I mean, I think Bill's looking at him going, "Should you really be doing this?" But I think I'm with Holden on this one. I think
I am actually. Yeah.
I'm like, well, if he can't handle a recording, then how is he going to react in the field? Like, we can't take him into a room with someone if he can't sit through a recording.
Yeah. Like, he imagine putting him in the room with Bridos. Like, it would
have broken him.
Yeah, it'd be done.
Yeah, so. And I just, we're talking about how, Holden's very paranoid, and it's what this job has done to him. I think it's interesting with Bill that I think he was like that, and I think all this stuff with, his son and all the stuff with his wife in the last episode, he's kind of going, I don't want to be paranoid anymore. I want to, live in the world of hope, so to speak. And I wonder if that's kind of why he's shying away from doing this. He doesn't want to make it any worse. Which
I don't see him staying away from forever, because I feel like them as a pair going and interviewing the criminals is kind of the show. So I feel like,
yeah,
he will in some way maybe get over his feelings and get strength again.
I think maybe not this season now.
Yeah, maybe not this season. We'll only got 2 episodes left, so. Yeah.
But I think that'll be a strong arc for him to go through, having to go, maybe accept that he can do this and not have it impact him quite so much.
Maybe that's why he's so intent on hiring someone. You can go with Holden to interview.
I think it is. Yeah, it's an easy way of deflecting.
Yeah, but no, it was a strong episode. It was obviously very Holden focused because we kind of left Bill to the sideline this episode.
Yeah.
So
like I say, we had a few Wendy moments. Most of them were shared with Bill.
Yeah, it was them hiring people, and then we had the new guy with Holden, but it was all Holden either with Debbie and kind of that sort of falling apart, or with this principal tickler, or the one interview we had with Bridos again.
Yeah. I will say, I think the episode does suffer a little for it. I mean, it's fine because it's still strong with what it is doing. But I do miss having them two together and there, because I think their relationship is the best part of the show.
I agree. I do think they're in a bit of a messy place right now because they had that confrontation. I do think they will be kind of rekindled by the end of the season. I feel like when they realise they can catch this killer that we've been seeing, they'll maybe unite on that, and they'll unite on the front.
I would hope so, yeah.
Yeah. I can see that being.
They need a
thing.
new killing to bring them together, like an actual crime, rather than this prevention or just
Yeah.
interviewing. They need something that they can focus on and work on together.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to reiterate how good the interview scenes are. Like the interview scene with Brudos in this one, I thought was
It's
particularly good.
captivating, isn't it?
It's just the way he kept talking, the way he's like, "Oh yeah, these girls all want to be models," and the way because he says that one of them was willing, like they didn't get kidnapped, they actually wanted to go back, and then maybe it was just through the process they just at some point realised, oh dear, and even that related to the principal thing because it was like, oh the kids are willing, they want to do this, and it's maybe not until one day where he does want to go further that the kid realises, oh dear, this
I
is
can't get out. Yeah.
yeah. So, I thought there was some interesting correlations there. So, what I liked about this episode a lot is that it gave us all the evidence to actually kind of side with them. That, yeah, he should be paranoid about this guy, that this guy is really potentially dangerous, but it actually brought up some really good points as to why we can't just assume it's going to happen. We have to...
It gives you a good enough justification to why Holden thinks that, why his mind is where it is. Because, all these things that you just mentioned with the serial killers, like they're perfectly well seeded for him to go, hang on, I can see the correlation and see that there, and maybe this to that. But like you say, it is important that it goes not every time.
I mean, hindsight's 20/20 and all that, but I think what he should have recommended to the school board is just put it in your rules that this isn't allowed, and let them know, like, you have to stop this. If not, we will take action and fire you. But if you stop it, we're good. Like that maybe would have been the best.
I think so.
Course of action, but.
I think then it would have given a clear boundary for the principal where, okay, he might have still wanted to do it, and if he did do it then, but he would know he was breaking a rule, so he can justifiably be punished.
Yeah, exactly. Which I imagine is more, I mean, I don't know if it's officially written into rules when you become a principal or a teacher, but like I imagine
don't tickle the kids.
Don't touch the kids inappropriately is probably just assumed at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
So, but no, good. Because actually, one of the things I like that you pointed out is that the action that's happening is normal at home. Like, if this was a parent tickling their kid, that's normal. I remember getting tickled. Just
Sure.
It's a normal sort of friendly family action you do with your parents or even your friends.
But it's weird for a teacher, and the principal's like, yeah, but this is like it's a small, close knit community. It's supposed to be like a family. He wants to be the father figure. That's kind of what he's aiming to be. Again, going back to that power, the father being the head of the family.
So no, so it was a fascinating episode. Like I said, I did miss the Bill Holden, collaboration for the episode, but I do think it did very well in what it focused on.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's good. So I'm curious to see if we are we jumping into this big case then for the last 2 episodes, or are we waiting until the finale for that? Like, what is next episode? So, and I do expect to go back to Kemper before the season's out.
That makes sense. If not, I assume we'll see him again next season.
So there you go. Also, I'll be watching all my friends closely for signs of being serial killers now.
Also, I just saw today, between since the last episode, Fincher apparently has a 5-season plan.
Oh, interesting.
So
it'll be interesting to see. Does it skip time? Do we end up like further down the line in the process to where this is more applied? Maybe
it could do.
If we're going over 5 seasons, does season 5 actually take place in like the late 80s, maybe even the 90s, something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, but maybe it'd be too well established by that point.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'm just. I mean, maybe it's just. Maybe it's less than 5 years. Maybe it's just all over the course of 1 year. But it's all just condensed. That could
maybe
be
it's all just the 70s.
Yeah, could be. But there you go. So let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. We got 2 left, so expect them fairly soon. So aye, look forward to that. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates, like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can do that over there. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?